taking no notice of anything. But at last the jailer gave him a sheet of paper and a pencil to play with. These he seized with pleasure, and carried them off to a seat, nor did he stop writing until he had covered the paper with letters and syllables, arranged just as they would be in a copybook. Among the letters were 3 complete words: Kaspar Hauser and Reiter, horse soldier. Kaspar Hauser was evidently his name, though he did not recognize it when called by it. The news of the strange arrival spread through the city. The guardhouse, where he spent part of the day, was thronged by a curious crowd, anxious to see this strange creature, who looked at things without seeing them, who could not bear a strong light, who loathed any food but bread and water, and who, parrot-like, repeated a couple of phrases which he evidently did not understand, and one word, horse, to which he seemed to attach some meaning. What they saw was a youth of about 17, with fair hair and blue eyes, the lower part of his face slightly projecting like a monkey's. He was 4 feet 9 inches in height, broad-shouldered, with tiny hands and delicate little feet, which had never worn shoes, nor been put to their natural use, for the soles were as soft as a baby's. He was dressed in grey riding breeches, a round jacket, which had been made out of a frock coat by cutting off the skirts, and wore a round felt hat, bound with red leather. In his pockets were some rags, some tracts, a rosary, and a paper of gold sand. Everyone who saw him and watched him came to the same conclusion, that his mind was that of a child of 2 or 3, while his body was nearly grown up. And yet he was not half-witted, because he immediately began to pick up words and phrases, had a wonderful memory, and never forgot a face he had once seen, or the name which belonged to it. During the next 2 or 3 weeks, he spent part of every day in the guard-room, part with the family of the jailer, whose children taught him to talk and to walk as they did their own baby sister. He was not afraid of anything. Swords were whirled round his head without his paying any attention to them. He stretched out his hand to the flame of a lighted candle, and cried when it burned him. And when he saw his face in a looking-glass, looked behind it for the other person. He was particularly pleased when anything bright or glittering was given to him. Whenever this happened, he called out, "Horse, horse," and made signs as if he wanted to hang it on the neck of something. At last, one of the policemen gave him a wooden horse, when his happiness was complete, and he spent hours sitting on the floor playing with this horse, and the dozens of horses which were given to him by his visitors as soon as they heard of his liking for them. 6 or 7 weeks passed in this way, and all the time the town council were discussing what they could do with him. At last they decided to adopt him as the child of Nuremburg, and to have him properly cared for and taught, so that if possible something of his past might be learned. He was taken away from the prison and put under the charge of Professor Daumer, whose interest in the youth led him to undertake the difficult task of developing his mind so that it might fit his body. The burgomaster issued a notice to the inhabitants that in the future they would not be allowed to see Kaspar Hauser for all hours of the day, and that the police had orders to interfere if the curiosity of visitors led them to annoy Dr. Daumer and his household. He entered Dr. Daumer's house on July the 18th, 1828, and during the next 5 months made such astonishing progress that the delight of his teacher knew no bounds. In order to satisfy public curiosity, the burgomaster published in July a short account of Hauser's previous life, gleaned from him by careful questioning. It was to this effect: he neither knows who he is, nor where he came from, for it was only at Nuremberg that he came into the world. He always lived in a hole, where he sat on straw on the ground. He never heard a sound, nor saw any vivid light. He awoke, and he slept, and he awoke again. When he awoke, he found a loaf of bread and a pitcher of water beside him. Sometimes the water tasted nasty, and then he fell asleep again. And when he woke up, he found he had a clean shirt on. He never saw the face of the man who came to him.